as the hero, the heroine, or whatever suffix you might use to modify the gender of that word, on a great journey through life. Where are you, and where is your compass pointing? And do you even know? Joseph Campbell, renegade scholar and master mixer of ancient archetype with modern psychology, laid out some structure of myth, which is to say, he dissected the story. He gave us mythic anatomy and mythic physiology. The hero's journey, as Joseph Campbell so eloquently and rigorously mapped, is the evolutionary pathway that the individual can choose to take in life. It is the great adventure that beckons, the life we know is meant for us, no matter how out there or maybe traditional that life is. In contrast to a world we seem to be at odds with. It's the adventure of growth, learning, encountering adversity, and following the path, no matter how wild the bramble it treads through. It is the journey of becoming who it is we are meant to be, whoever that is. Often, the hero endures a grueling transformation, testing them to the limit. At the end of the long road, they bring back an elixir. Not necessarily literal, but some kind of wisdom or holy grail, a sacred medicine for their tribe, healing the world and fulfilling their destiny and unique purpose in existence. Though, of course, some heroes need only be adventuring through the wild of themselves to experience the unfolding of purpose, to bring positive change to their universe. Campbell called the hero one with 1,000 faces. Though he identified a mythic DNA all stories share, the journey certainly can take endless form and variety, for all of us are as infinitely unique as we are infinitely connected. It's ironic that there is nothing harder yet also more natural than to become in a way who we already are. It's like sprouting a seed we always held within, making the commitment to nurturing it through all seasons, experiencing the alchemy of that tiny seed growing into a large tree or even a forest. This sprouting and growth is often a process of letting go of the things we think we should be, which can be a lot of things. Sometimes it's a process of courage, of taking great risks that we must take, a matter of blooming or dying. Sometimes it's about confronting previous generations, being the first to challenge old norms, or the way things always were, being the first to dare express that they no longer work. It's always a process of awareness, becoming aware of the deeper patterns, beliefs, and emotions we filter our experience through and make decisions based on. Often, as we integrate this awareness, it's a process of being tested by life to see if we really understood, if we really got the message. We're tried, we're tested, and are we true as we wind through the mazes of consciousness and experience, trying to find our way back to a home we can remember from a place we've never actually been. Of course, on the level of psychology, we can talk ideas about the self. We can assess pathology, psyche, and change from an intellectual or analytical standpoint. But the best teaching tool or model to convey this information might be that of a story, a myth. A story is where we see these abstract ideas in practical action. It could be for this reason that myths, stories, and fairy tales are invaluable in cultures the world over, and since time, history, our longest story began. Healing doesn't need to look like anything more than shifting a thought from point A to point B, and perhaps that is all it needs to be. It can definitely be easy if very intense, but it usually is best imagined as a literal journey. A journey where the one undergoing the change process has a goal, or a wish, and pursues this goal eventually at the cost of everything they once were. Sometimes these goals change to reveal deeper desires and needs that were not immediately visible on the surface. The journey ultimately propels us to a higher octave of existence. And it isn't always one we could have predicted. It's also not always a journey we chose consciously. Sometimes, if we are stuck in our ways, in our ordinary lives, it seems to have chosen us. So, you, as the protagonist in an epic myth. Maybe that's not how you feel or experience yourself, but I invite you to try on that perspective for a moment. Even if you don't see yourself as occupying the lead in some vast singing Odyssey, you're still in some kind of running myth, however particular to you. So, what kind of story do you tell yourself about your life? Is it your run of the mill soap opera, a thriller, a rom com, a genre bending, indie low budget sleeper hit? And when you reflect on where you are in that story, on which chapter you're currently living in the myth of your life, does your relationship with your mind or your relationship with your physical body come into play? Is your narrative mostly concerned with your relationships with people, your role in society, and the progression of your goals as you achieve and accomplish your desires? Are you occupied with your spiritual evolution? Do your body or mind fill any special roles on the journey? What is mind? Is your mind biological? Is it part of your body, a sophisticated neural network, a complex, moody algorithm, a cluster of seemingly different personality traits that really shouldn't coexist, but there you are? What do body and mind mean to you personally, on that private, intimate soul level of meaning where you feel it all and love is real, even if it isn't? In the novel that is your life, how is your health a part of your journey? How would you define health? What does it mean? How is your health a mentor, a mirror, or even a herald or a call to adventure? What is mental health? Is your body a lover, a villain, an antagonist, a threshold guardian to a whole new level of living, an ally, an elixir? Is your mind a lover, a mentor, a villain, a threshold guardian, an ally, an elixir? Some or many of the above, or something totally different? What role does health play as you seek out that which you desire in life? What does it mean to have health or not? And what does it mean to heal? There's a certain logic that can be called love logic or maybe psychologic running our psyches that we often follow unconsciously. It's logic that operates in seamless accordance with our innermost self. It bows to the core, even if that core is mysterious. And this logic's invisible but palpable operative is to weave our experience with the values we hold deepest, the values that live in the very heart of hearts of our being. The logic is magnetic and powerful, influencing our behavior and our decisions so that our lives can best reflect what is most important to us. And it does this whether we are aware of these lines of code running or not. And whether we are having a positive or negative experience relative to these core values, and whether we are having a conscious or unconscious experience of the existence of these core values. So it's worth asking, and this might be becoming a bit of a buffet of questions, so eat your heart out. What values do you hold at the deepest level? What are the themes of your life? Are you aware of certain tones or universal qualities or absolutes, such as peace, love, eternity, beauty, infinity, freedom, or curiosity, that you might be focused on or focused on the absence of, as humans tend to be, sometimes without even realizing? What means the world to you? These are pretty big questions. It might be best to explore the answers after listening. I've included a link to the written transcript if you'd like. You can also pause the video and take some quick notes on thoughts that might pop to mind. Meaning is meaningful, for one, because our health and our unique situation of well-being is affected by the meaning we give our experience. Understanding what's happening with our health can be greatly assisted with an exploration of what's meaningful to us, the unique way that we give things our energy. The meaning we give our experience becomes stress, and stress is very relevant on a clinical level. We know stress is one of the leading, documented, and studied causes of chronic illness. Though some stress is a necessary stimulant for evolution and healthy growth, chronic stress, where exposure to the stress exceeds our ability to respond, creates a negative biological effect. When stress hormones continuously circulate in the body and blood, certain resistances develop, and the body can no longer effectively balance itself, potentially creating immune problems, chronic inflammation, and tissue damage. Our meaning-making patterns can quickly get out of control and affect our stress levels, especially when we react in a fight-or-flight sympathetic nerve system response out of proportion to the actual input experience. Stress is created as we decide if something fits our version of good or bad. A lot of this is unconscious. Stress arises as we decide if we did or did not secure the presence of whatever it is on the deepest level is in accordance with our values, with who we are, and with what's most important to us. It also arises when we fail to live up to an expectation of how we think we need to be or what we think we need to do to achieve the essential in life. On the road of life, where are you walking? And where is your agency, your sovereignty, within the stories you tell yourself? Is it all happening to you? And if so, what are you going to do about it? Are you making it all happen? And if so, what? Where is the prima causa, the first thought, the source of it all? Where is your power? What about ultimate power? How far can you go riding on a wish and your will? The evolutionary adventure of life, the stories we tell, even if the story is there is no story, no meaning, only a nihilistic void of nothingness. This story is what gives health its personal meaning to each of us. Think about that for a moment. The way that we process and interpret existence, reality, is going to birth the context for whatever it is we call health. And often, perceptions we are calling objective reality are really just that, perceptions. These greater perceptions shape our perceptions of our health and our bodies that can be as equally unconscious, having us assume certain things simply are the way they are rather than being stories that we tell. And when we experience health challenges, it tends to bring our perceptions as well as the meaning we give life to the forefront. One of the best ways to navigate through the challenge of ill health is to run with the heightening experience. It's to embrace and to see how life has peeled back a layer on us, revealing our truer colors and tones to ourselves. It can be so healing to dive in, courageously and sincerely plunging the depth of soul to uncover the themes of our lives. It can be helpful to speak in the language of soul or that tiny spark of life within us, to track the sensation in our body, brew with our feelings, which can reveal to us a complex map of a wild landscape of consciousness within. There, the many dimensions of ourselves intermingle: sensation, values, desires, emotion, beliefs. We trek viscerally through jungles of meaning and wade in oceans of love logic that are constantly attempting to relate inner world with outer. Here, story is like a connective tissue running through the land, a fascia of the mind, gluing the different elements within our complex landscape of consciousness together. Our embodied feelings are access keys to our deeper psyches, and as we explore them, we begin to understand how and why we tell ourselves the stories that we do. As we explore these stories with a bird's eye view, we can assess if these stories are the most accurate. Could they be better, truer, and where is the road to take us if we are to heal? On your hero's journey, your heroine's journey, your anti-hero's journey, your Herazapoya's journey, whatever and whoever's journey you identify with through life, where are you? And where are you going? And where do you want to go? And how does your health, including that of your mind, connect with this path? What is the most meaningful relationship you can have with your body and mind? It's okay if you have no idea. If you'd like, take a journal and take time to reflect on some of these questions. Answer the questions that inspired you most or hinted at something interesting or curious, kind of sparkly and exciting in thought. Take time to contemplate, feel into, and delight in the answers you discover. There is no right or wrong, there is only what is true and honest about your experience in a given moment. There is only what makes you feel, maybe tear up a bit, resonate, get goosebumps, shivers, indicators you're receiving answers true to your soul, to that spark of life inside. Whatever answers you come up with, or new questions, and then you know you're really getting somewhere, are yours. Deliciously private, sacred. And you don't need to do anything. The simple act of bringing attention to what exists inherently changes and transforms what exists. All we need to do is see a thing as it is. Of course, if you're moved to take action or change behavior, well, congratulations. That's an excellent progression of inquiry and an indicator that you're doing it well. But reflection itself is powerful. You can also explore through other methods of self-reflection, such as movement or another art form, the story that you naturally tell yourself about your life. Not the story that you want to be telling yourself, the one that is beyond that whole duality of the incredible ideal versus the brutal truth, that is somehow with great compassion encompassing both those dynamics and beyond. Don't worry if you don't figure it all out right away, because that's impossible. This Odyssey is infinite. And at the same time, we can make empowering distinctions that help us grow from our specific vantage points within infinity. If you feel moved to share any of your reflections, we'd be honored to hear from you. Or if you have general thoughts or input on the ideas being shared here, it would be deeply appreciated. Your sharing contributes to a collective transpersonal dialogue on these topics, but absolutely no pressure. Thank you for being here on the incredible journey of being human now. And thank you for tuning in.